Do you know, I really want to know a bit more about NWA Hollywood. I know you didn't have the longest time there, but it's one of the territories that seems to get the least amount of press. And the first question is, did you ever roll with Judo Gene LeBelle?
Well, no, he's several years older than I am. He was, spoke with him, and I always conversed with him, and he was, he's a great guy. But and he spent a lot of time in Hawaii. I met him first in Hawaii, coming here when that back in the early '70s when he'd come through and he was wrestling here, and he'd take us down. We'd go down with Billy and him down to the old Civic Auditorium that they had the ring up there, pretty much all week long, unless they had roller derby or a rock concert or something in for the week. But they'd leave the ring and leave the ring in, so we'd go and we'd work out there. And of course, he was 1960 gold medal judo champion from the Olympics, and he won it in Tokyo, which was even more astounding for an American to win, gold medal in Tokyo. So he was a nice guy. He seemed like a real fool doing interviews and stuff, but he was just putting the wrestlers over. He was intelligent. He's an intelligent man.
How was Mike LeBelle? Was he completely different to Gene? I don't know his background, but I know his name is sort of, on the above the pub.
He was the promoter. I never really had much contact with. Hello, how are you? Goodbye. It wasn't not as much a relationship as people did with Gene. Yeah. Gene was more outgoing. One of the boys. He took over that stuntman, the stuntman union, stuntman organization in Hollywood. He through his mother Eileen Eaton and the Olympic Auditorium and stuff. He'd been. If you look on a lot of the old Disney films, and a lot of the old kind of comic. Action comedy movies. He was a bad guy. A lot of the things, getting beat up by somebody or something like that. So he'd taken over the stunt, and that came from Vic Christie, Lord Blair's best friend, who had he and his brother Ted had at first gone into the stunt business in Hollywood, and they were ribbers and jokers and always telling stories and personal. So the movie stars loved them to have around, and they had a good time with the movie stars too. I guess they played ribs on everybody. And, Ted Christie was a famous, one of the famous original ribbers in the business that a lot of guys don't know. But I guess all the directors and actors and stuff took a liking for them, and it passed from them to Gene, and he led the stunt union organization. But he was a good guy. He is a good guy. Pretty old now.
Yeah, he's like 90. He's almost 90. And the story that still pervades is that he choked out Steven Seagal and made him shit his pants.
Yeah. I heard that too. I was doing a TV spot too, and the actors are, he's the wrestler, and it's, Seagal and LeBelle. And that story was kind of going around undercover there.
Someone else who just doesn't seem to get any kind of publicity, really, even though he was a main eventer, was John Tolos. Do you remember him?
Oh yeah, what a great guy! And he was. I didn't know until I dove into Facebook and stuff the last year or two that he was such a big card in Los Angeles, where he was Los Angeles. It was for him and Freddie Blassie and. Couple of Mexican stars like Neil Moscadis and a couple other guys. He was Los Angeles, but he was just a easygoing guy, just fun, hello, my dear. He had that deep bellowing voice, and all the ladies said, hello, my dear. That's a beautiful dress. Did you make that yourself? He'd have a saying line that it would go, but it was, it meant it fun and easygoing. He was a good guy.
So how was the territory? Because I'm thinking, when were you there? Around 71, 72, sort of that era, young in your career. Like, who were the big stars at the time? Because I've got a few. You mentioned Freddie Blassie. Gory Guerrero. I don't know if he was there at the same time as you were. I believe he might well have been.
Well, he was the father of the Guerrero family.
Did he not wrestle in Hollywood then?
No, not in Hawaii. He was Chavo Guerrero was out of L.A. He and Roddy Piper did a lot of business in Los Angeles. So it's Chavo. I know Chavo. I was closer friends with younger brother Mondo. He comes before the Eddie, the one that passed, and Hector. He was I think he's right under Chavo as far as. So I worked with Chavo quite a bit, San Francisco, and he was over in Hawaii here for a while at the hotels and stuff. So yeah, he was. They were cool guys.
Chavo was pretty much an innovator as well, because wasn't he the first person to do the moonsault? So they say.
Chavo.
So they say, yeah.
Could be. I'm not sure. Well, Carpentier was doing it. He did that backflip off the top rope. He didn't splash anybody, but I remember there were a couple of guys back then that were doing that. Back in Carp's day, he would do that backflip off the top. So I'm not sure. I don't think anybody else used it as a finish until probably Shovel. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
So who are some of the other big stars that maybe don't get as much publicity, or people who were just sort of stalwarts at the territory who may not be remembered now?
Well, Moondog Mayne was here at the time, Lonnie Mayne, and he was like Mick Foley before Mick Foley was he used to take insane bumps, just a great bump guy. Stood on the top rope of the top, second and third rope in that Portland arena, and have somebody drop kick him and go over the top turnbuckle right out to the floor and land on the floor. Things like that, just things now that are commonplace, but back in those days, it was pretty extraordinary.